1956. After decades of violence and struggle to gain autonomy, Tunisia breaks its political affiliation with France and gains independence. Habib Bourguiba, a longtime resistance leader, takes over as president, quickly instituting reforms. In his attempts to distance the country from its colonial past, Bourguiba begins a campaign of Arabization, embracing the non-Western origins of Tunisian culture. At this time, Malouf became popularized as the national musical heritage of Tunisia. Often referred to as North African Andalusian classical music, Malouf has evolved extensively over the years, incorporating French, Spanish, Arab, and local influences. Artists would blend these various styles during street performances. Malouf attained a brief status as a colloquial music of the people, which ideally represented a distinct Tunisian culture. Malouf music capitalized on the recent political upheaval, creating an image that was seen as counter-establishment to the previously dominating French and Sufi traditions. Yet despite it being a so-called music of the people, Malouf quickly became formalized in the Rashidia school, establishing a proper musical notation and training students to play with a specific set of instruments. Malouf serves as an important precedent to the more recent role of hip-hop, which will be discussed soon. During the Tunisian independence movement of the 1950s, Rai and Warani music were beginning to emerge as a recognizable musical style. Rai music took heavy influence from the outside world, much more so than Malouf. Rai fused traditional Malouf and Malhoun styles with American swing music brought over during World War II, and Egyptian pop music incorporating more modern instruments. In contrast to Malouf, which was lovingly embraced, Rai music was heavily suppressed. Seen as a remnant of colonialism, Rai was banned from state radio. This may be in part due to the subject matter, which dealt with the controversial themes of poverty, depression, forbidden love, and other social issues. Rather than dying out, however, Rai music moved underground. Using cassettes and word of mouth to spread the ever-changing genre, Rai became increasingly popular, especially among young audiences. Most enthusiasts were in their teens or early 20s, including the rising star Cheb Khalid, now dubbed the King of Rai. This is one of his most popular songs called Didi, detailing his lust for a woman's affection. Eventually, Rai became so prevalent in North African culture that it was allowed on the radio. Some continue to debate what constitutes Rai music, but it still remains a popular and now more acceptable trend to this day. In the wake of strained relations between the West and the Muslim world following 9/11, a new musical style appeared. Violent Islamist radicals recruited youth in some Arab countries facing the social problems of poverty, unemployment, and cultural conflicts. Hip-hop emerged as a medium to express frustration and anger with these social problems, while also allowing the youth to construct an identity away from and against these violent extremists. This may not be the case for every artist at the time, but hip-hop in the Middle East became firmly rooted in conveying social frustrations and embracing Muslim identity. Tunisia was no exception to the onslaught of hip-hop music, yet much like Rai music decades before, hip-hop was only present underground. Under President Ben Ali's reign, most hip-hop artists were not allowed on government-approved playlists for the state-controlled TV and radio, and attaining a permit to perform in public was a difficult, if not hopeless, process. Many were simply prohibited from recording CDs in studios, which caused musicians such as El General to record in their homes. El General, who became something of a poster boy for the Arab Spring Tunisian Revolution of 2011, worked around these restrictions by exploiting new technologies. Rising from humble origins, the rapper used two friends to film and edit videos together, and then posted the results to his Facebook and YouTube pages. Growing anti-government sentiment fueled Race Le Blood into an internet sensation. The song itself is highly critical of common problems faced by many Tunisians. Following the success of the song, El General then posted the blunt and provocative Tunisia, Our Country, which contained even more hostile remarks about President Ben Ali and his family. The young rapper was promptly seized and arrested without warning after posting the song. At this point, however, El General had gained a massive international following, from those identifying with his message of social injustice, to Westerners who saw the story picked up by mainstream media outlets. The 2011 Tunisian Revolution presents an interesting case of resistance. The lack of a politician or authority figure speaking out against the government forced people to seek other means to circumvent the system of government corruption and inadequacy. Before, with Maluf, the government tried to use street music to create a sense of national autonomy. In the process, they suppressed Rai music, which quickly became the true voice of the youth. In time, Rai became more accepted and hip-hop took over as the rebellious music of the people. In the past 60 years, Tunisia has used music as a method of defiance against authority, or more specifically, the government. In addition to the much analyzed role of social media, hip-hop provided a short, consumable voice to the problems of poverty, unemployment, corruption, and overall dissatisfaction in the 2011 revolution. In fact, hip-hop artists such as El General use social media to propagate their songs and their videos. They subverted the oppressive system of broadcast and recording controlled by the state. By the time Ben Ali attempted to arrest El General, the message of resistance and protest had been spread so effectively that it didn't matter. Additional attempts to shut down internet pages were likewise unsuccessful, as anonymous hacking groups backed Tunisian protest figures. El General has since reached out to other audiences, addressing issues in Egypt, Algeria, Libya, and Morocco with his music. His songs have been played in protest throughout the Middle East, notably in Egypt and more recently in Bahrain. نفس المشاكل والصفوف